Hello everyone, very good morning and good evening. Welcome to our SAP Step Up Circles from SastraGeek Solutions, Parminder this side. So first thing we are talking about that this Ariba, when we talk about what is Ariba? So basically Ariba is an IT product which we put into the category of ERP. It's a kind of a ERP product, enterprise resource planning product, which provide a solution to support a certain business area or certain business functionality in your business. Now that business area, business functionality can be a small business functionality or can be end-to-end business functionality. So when we talk about the different tools, when we talk about, let's say, a tool or a product, when we talk about a product called SAP S4HANA. Now this SAP S4HANA would be a product which is a complete end-to-end ERP product. It covers sourcing, it covers procurement, it covers manufacturing, it covers quality, it covers planning, it covers inventory management, it covers finance. Okay, so different business areas, the different functionality which a business requires, it's covered by SAP S4HANA. All business functionalities are covered by SAP S4HANA. That's why this module is called as a core module. A core ERP modules, SAP is an ERP product, you all know. And SAP S4HANA becomes a core ERP product which provide all these functionalities, right? Which provides all this functionality, end-to-end functionality. Out of the functionality which SAP S4HANA provides, we are interested in a particular functionality, sourcing and procurement. Sourcing and procurement. This is the functionality we are focusing. There is a business who do the buying operations. In the buying operation, they need to do the sourcing. They need to do the procurement. So if a company said, Ki, Bhaiya, I want to do a sourcing and procurement, which tool I need to use it? What would be your answer? If a company said, I want to use a sourcing and procurement, and what would you say that which tool can be used? Whether we can use S4HANA or whether we need to use Ariba? What would be your answer? So first, let's try to understand. I hope that everybody's understand what is sourcing and what is procurement. Sourcing and procurement itself are the two different functionality in a business, right? I will briefly explain sourcing and procurement. Okay, and there is another terminology which will come into the picture. We call it, when we talk about S4HANA, we call it sourcing and procurement. And when we talk about Ariba language, we talk about a terminology upstream and downstream. Okay, so this upstream or a sourcing as a functionality, what does that does? And how it is different from procurement, that you need to understand it. So procurement, when we talk about procurement as a functionality, is our day-to-day operations. To do the procurement, what you need to do it? First, you need to have a requirement. The requirement is your purchase requisitions. Then this purchase requisition need to be converted into the purchase orders. Then there would be approval process for the purchase orders. Then there would be a good receipt. Then there would be invoice. So this is the operational procurement process covered by the procurement. From your requirement to your getting a product delivered and getting a paid to the vendor. So basically your P2P process, procure to pay process, which happens on a day-to-day basis on the operations ground, is covered under the procurement stream. If this is procurement, then what is sourcing? So bhaiya sourcing kya hai? What does sourcing does? If this is procurement, the sourcing functionalities are, let's say, I want to buy, but from whom I want to buy? Kisse buy karna? Who would be my vendor? Who would be my supplier? So all the activities related to identifying a supplier, negotiating with the supplier, onboarding a supplier, setting up the rates and the prices with supplier, at what price he would be supplying, at what norms he would be offering, whether he has all the certifications or not. Okay, all the things which is negotiating with the supplier, onboarding a supplier, and making sure the supplier would be delivering us the decent quantities and the decent quality is come under the sourcing. So before you buy, in many companies, we need to do a contract with the customer. We need to onboard the customer. We need to do the contract with the customer. We need to do a lot of compliance check with the customers. That is the part of sourcing. Sourcing is also called as kind of a process which we call it as a, when we have a purchase acquisition and you said, I don't have a source or I don't know who should be the source, then you go ahead with the quotation process, right? You have a RFQ, request for quotations. You generate RFQ and you give it to your vendors. Your vendors supply with the quotations. You compare the quotation, then you award your supplier, right? That is the sourcing part. You're trying to identify a vendor, you're trying to negotiate with the vendor, and you're trying to maintaining a vendor, you're trying to maintaining a supplier. Many cases, the supplier would already be there, but you need to find a better supplier. You need to find a better vendor. So all it will require, this functionality of sourcing, negotiating, contracting, identifying a vendor requires a lot of efforts, a lot of efforts. And when it comes to the indirect buying, the efforts would be more because the direct buying will be having a fixed vendors. Indirect buying would be huge, tons of materials we need to buy, thousands of materials we need to buy where the vendors would not be identified. So this is important to understand direct and indirect. Can anyone tell me the difference between direct and indirect? What is the difference between direct buying and what is the difference between indirect buying? Anyone? Can anyone try to bring a difference between direct and indirect buying? So let's say if I want to produce, I give you an example, and if I want to produce a car. To produce a car, I need a chassis, I need a steering, I need a wheel, I need a paint, I need a nuts, I need a bolts. So many things I need, right? These all components, when I buy, this would be a part of my product. When I'm selling my car, in the car, paint is going, doors are going, wheels are going, steering is going, right? It's a part of the product. So these are called the direct material, which is directly associated in my product. It can be also the packaging material which goes with the product can also be called as a direct. So this is all our direct materials. Then we have another category, which is your indirect materials. In indirect materials, there can be so many things you will be buying. To produce this, you need tools. You need jigs. You need fixtures. You need machines. You need spare parts. You need office supplies. You need stationery. Right? You need AC machines. You need laptops. So these kind of materials would be in the quantity. These count of materials would be huge. If you will check the quantity and the number of procurement you do, this will be covering your 80% of the procurement. And the direct would be 20% of the procurement when if we talk about the count of the purchase order or purchase requisitions. But if you talk about the value, it can be opposite. Direct material can be of the 80% of the value and the indirect material can be of the 20% of the value. Now the major big difference is these direct materials, you would be having a plan. Okay, it's a systematic way. You know that how much cars I would be selling in each month. There would be a planning, forecastings, sales and operations planning would be happening, right? And based on that, you would be knowing that in each month, how many chassis, steerings, wheels, paints, I would be requiring it, right? And that you need it every week, a delivery is coming, every month a delivery is coming, continuously you are buying it again, and again. So for these products, generally we already have a fixed vendors. We have a long-term contracts already are there. And it's the same material which we keep on buying. But when it comes to the indirect material, there can be 100 2,000 in a bigger organization, 100 to 1,000 plus material introduced every month, which is a new material. IT need a new kind of cable now, right? They need a new laptop with the specification. They need a new server. They need a new hard drive. For a communication, they need in the meeting rooms, they need a new kind of cameras, right? So a lot of new materials would be created. A lot of new requirement would be coming when it comes to the indirect. And these materials would be having handful suppliers. And sometime what we require will not be getting from the supplier. We need to develop a supplier, and he would be putting up the lines, he would be putting up the factories to specifically supply the products which we needed. And then he would be continuing that for the 5, 10, 20 years, he would be continuously supplying to us. These indirect materials, there can be.
Don't forget to subscribe our channel and click on bell icon to update yourself with latest SAP videos.
1,000 plus vendors, which is available in the market. Okay, because these are the generic products. So you need to find it out which can provide a better quality and which can provide the better rates. So more materials are there, more buying efforts are there. So what I'm trying to make you understand, for the direct part here, this has more procurement efforts. Direct part has a more procurement efforts. Day-to-day procurement would be there. Purchase order, good receipt, invoice, payment. Indirect materials would be having a more sourcing effort. Indirect material would be having a more sourcing efforts. Every time new materials are coming, you need to identify a new buyer for it. You need to negotiate the rates. You need to make sure that materials comes into your premise. So indirect material is a sourcing intensive and direct material is a procurement intensive. Although in both of them we require both. Sourcing, procurement, dono karna hi padega. That's how our end-to-end P2P cycle completes. But good procurement function, the direct is more towards the procurement and less sourcing. Direct is 80% procurement, 20% sourcing. And indirect is 60% sourcing, 40% procurement effort. Or it can be 70% sourcing and 30% procurement efforts, right? So that is the thing which you need to understand, that within the business, there can be different segments of buying and they need a different tools specific into that area. So if I am focusing on, I am a strategic buyer for the indirect material, I should be having a very good tools which can support the sourcing part. If I'm into the direct material, I should be having a functionalities which can support the procurement part and P2P, and how this P2P cycles can integrate with finance, how it can integrate with the planning, how it can integrate with the sales, so that I come to know how much of the materials need to be buy on month basis from the planning side. So that is the two differences you need to understand, and then we'll talk about which one can fit where. But at the high level, I will tell you, Ariba is more functionality, more focus onto the sourcing side. And S/4HANA is more focused into the procurement sides, end-to-end P2P cycles. So in a company, if end-to-end, if you ask this question to SAP, right? If I am working in SAP and you ask me question, key for a company who wants to do sourcing and procurement, what tool is required? My answer would be Ariba plus SAP S/4HANA. If you want to digitalize your end-to-end procurement cycle, integrated with all the other modules and integrated with all the other SAP or non-SAP products, you want to digitalize end-to-end sourcing and procurement, we need to use two products from SAP. First is Ariba and second is S/4HANA. Okay, S/4HANA gives a good downstream functionality, which we call it as a procurement functionality. Ariba gives better upstream functionality, which we call it as a sourcing functionalities. Any questions till the discussion which we have done so far? If you have a question, quickly type on the chat. If you don't have a question, I want you to type NQ in the chat window quickly. NQ in the chat window. If you don't have a question, NQ. If you have a question, quickly shoot your question. And then we'll go through the mind map. and then we'll discuss that. We'll try to see that what actually the different products are available. Actually, the number of products from SAP itself is even much more. Okay, I have one question from Avinash. Can you repeat the sourcing and procurement thing differences? The differences. Okay, again, I will repeat. The procurement is end-to-end P2P cycles, which is more talked about more about the transactional process which need to be done to procure the materials and to receive the materials, right? So it will start with the purchase acquisition, purchase order. We are going with the thing that when we are buying these products, let's say, take example of a paint which is required when you are having in the industry where you manufacturing cars. Now, when you want to buy a paint, will you go every time to buy a paint? Will you go to your vendor, try to find which vendor can provide me the red paint, what quality he provide, what rates he provide? No, right? You don't do that. You are producing the red cars for years. You have a specific vendor for you. You are producing every day, every week, every month, the same material you are producing, your same material you are consuming. So your rate list would already be there. Your contract would already be there. Your source is already set up. What you need to know, do that existing information which you have, you need to buy from the existing information. You will be having a purchase.
તો 1 કલાકનો હોય છે રસ.
Guys, please be on mute. Hiral, Jani. Again, I'm repeating, nobody is going to unmute themselves. For the first 90 minutes, we'll be having a dedicated session where you will be able to unmute yourself. Okay, so what I was talking about, that we will be creating a purchase requisition. Vendor is already there, purchase order, GR, invoice, payment. But let's talk about IT team came up with the requirement that we need a new server with this specification. They give the specification. For this specification, a new server is required. Now that is not you buy on the daily basis, right? For that particular, you need to find source कि भैया किससे buy करूं? Whether my existing vendors or the list of vendors who deal into that category, do they have that material? If they have, how much they quote? Then I need to take the quotation from the different vendors. I need to compare it. I need to finalize who should be my vendor. Okay, I need to onboard that vendor. And then I should start doing the procurement process for it. So that is the sourcing, identifying a vendor, negotiating a contract, negotiating a pricing, finalizing the vendor and onboarding him. That is the basically called sourcing. And once that source has been developed, once this pipe has been developed, continuously taking the material from the pipe is the procurement, right? In the layman language. Mr. Vyas said that S4HANA also provides this functionality. I will talk about what functionality S4HANA provides. S4HANA is having a 80% in-depth functionality of procurement. When it comes to the sourcing, it just have a tip on the iceberg. It just provides a 15 to 20% of the sourcing functionality. All the rest of the advanced sourcing functionality sits in Ariba. S4HANA does not provide. The functionality which Ariba has, the advanced sourcing functionality, where you have a pool of vendors. Digitally, you can connect with your vendors. Digitally, you can onboard the vendors. You can receive the digital invoices. You can do the bidding processes from the 100 of vendors. S4HANA does not have those features. Those features, even in the future, will not come to S4HANA because the digital product for those features, bhaiya, that is Ariba. That's what I was explaining, Ravindra. RFQ, what is RFQ? Okay, now let's try to understand the RFQ. Ravindra said कि भैया RFQ process तो we can do it as for HANA. तो भैया अरीबा क्यों चाहिए? क्या मतलब है अरीबा का? क्या है ये? अरीबा में करो RFQ. Now you need to understand, I need to buy this server, right? There are 40 vendors for this server. So what I should do? In S4HANA, I need to first onboard the 40 vendors. I need to first onboard the 40 vendors. Then I need to create 40 RFQs. I need to send it them through the email or the phone call. Ki bhaiya, I have sent you email, RFQ, please respond back. They will be checking. They would be sending back through the emails. I would be collecting all the information on the email. I would be punching into my system, and then I would be comparing it. This is all manual process. This is not a digitalized process. That's why I was calling. If you want your supply chain end-to-end digitalized, then you need Ariba. If you said, hey, yeah, I am okay, I will send 40 emails to my vendors, and when they respond, I will read the emails, I will punch the confirmation, I will push their quotation into the system. I'm okay with that. RFQ process in S4HANA works very well. But you are the company, you said, boss, I want to buy a chemical. And my chemical, they are the suppliers in China, they are the supplier in US, they are supplier in India. I don't know from where I need to buy. I need a tool where I put my requirement, and all the suppliers, whether they are registered on my network or not, they should be able to see my requirement. They should bid it, and I should get a result of the bid, and all processes digitalized. I'm not doing manually. And I should be getting a result of that bid, and automatically that who are the top into the bid, that should come to me. I should discuss with them, and that vendors which I am going to find it out that this would be going to supply me, I will finalize, and then I will onboard only that vendor. I will make it as a strategic supplier, and I will continue my process. In this way, I am not sending the quotation to each and every vendor. I'm just putting it open to my supplier network so that they can do the bid. There would be a fixed time bidding will happen. And through the bidding, the whatever the bid they are entering, it will automatically go into the system. Comparison will happen, and I will reward my vendor. And that vendor will get onboarded to S4HANA, and I will start my procurement process. That is called the end-to-end digitalization. That is not there in S4HANA. After today's session, ki bhaiya, 80% of the people, when I ask these questions in the interviews, they are not able to answer it. क्योंकि उनको पता ही नहीं है. RFQ process की business की requirements, what it can be, what business can expect from the RFQ process, and what S4HANA we give it. So your mind now should be open कि भैया RFQ and quotation process can be a big process where another tools would be required. Okay, sending manually that business set कि भैया नहीं चाहिए मुझे, automated process चाहिए, automated process चाहिए, then bring Coupa, bring Ariba. I hope that answer Ravindra's question. I have also answered a little bit of Amol's question. Which editor you are using, Avinash wants? So editor, this tool which I am explaining, this is on Xmind, and the pen which I'm using is the Epic pen. Okay, so let's proceed ahead. Now, बाहर की दुनिया को तो छोड़ दो. Within SAP, we have multiple products which provide the functionality under the sourcing and procurement. Okay, and some products are not going to be outdated. If you will ask today, we have 4 products from SAP. We have SAP Ariba, we have SAP S4HANA, we have SAP SRM, we have SAP MM, which is also called SAP ECC MM, Enterprise Core Component. So 4 products are there. Ariba, SAP have not built this Ariba product from scratch. Ariba is a company name, which I am not wrong, between 2008 to 2010, SAP acquired this company, SAP Ariba. And then it became from Ariba, it became SAP Ariba. Because that company was very strong into the sourcing functionality, and SAP ECC is not having a good functionality onto the sourcing. So they brought Ariba into it. SAP SRM was having some functionality which SAP Ariba has. So when Ariba came into the picture, they already had a discussion to stop this product. I think I think it's already stopped, and it is going to be within a year or two, SAP SRM would be having its support also from SAP side, it would be ending. Then SAP also upgraded their core ECC product, and they are stopping this also. Earlier the date was 2025, and now the date is 2027 for this, to get this product stopped. So ECC is going to sunset, SRM is going to sunset. These both products is going to sunset. ECC roughly date is 2027, SRM date is 2025. Now SAP is saying that my sourcing and procurement functionality, digital functionality, would be supported by these two products. Functionalities has been brought into S4HANA, and now it is called SAP S4HANA Sourcing and Procurement. Rather than calling they are now calling Sourcing and Procurement, which is the right terminology for the module. Was a complete wrong. What functionality it provides and what the module name does not correlate. Materials management, kya matlab hai materials? Everything is material management. You sell the material, you buy the material, you produce the material. You are managing the material in the full supply chain. What is material management? That is some weird terminology which came due to some translation from German language. That was the wrong name to the product. I'm muting the people who have unmuted themselves. So the new terminology, and it's not a new terminology, the correct terminology for the module is sourcing and procurement, which comes into the picture now. So is coming into the S4HANA. SRM is moving into Ariba, although there would be some features which will also go to S4HANA. So if you will talk about S4HANA is sourcing and procurement. Whereas if it is a one tick of sourcing functionality, only RFQ functionality was there in ECC, rest all the procurement functionality. I can give 2 ticks for the sourcing functionality in S4HANA, and I would be giving a 6 ticks, 1, 2, 3, to the Ariba for the sourcing functionality. So these are the function features, 6 features if you have for sourcing in Ariba, only 2 sourcing features in sourcing and procurement, and only a single sourcing feature in ECC. Okay. Few additional sourcing features which has been added in S4HANA is the new RFQ process which has been added. That's why I have increased the tick. And then supplier classification they have added. Vendor evaluation with questionnaire they have added. These all are kind of a supplier functionalities. These all functionality we cover in our SAP S4HANA Sourcing and Procurement Excellence course. We cover these all functionalities. But apart from that, these functionality also, this is just a flavor of sourcing. Whether you call it activity management, whether you call it classification, whether you call it segmentations, or whether you call it category management, which came in S4HANA, it increased the sourcing functionality, but still just a flavor of sourcing, we get it in S4HANA. The real sourcing functionality, we get it in Ariba. Okay, the real sourcing functionalities are in Ariba. So if a company need to work end to end, we suggest them to implement both SAP Ariba plus SAP S4HANA. SAP S4HANA is not only a product for sourcing and procurement. SAP S4HANA is a complete end-to-end ERP solution which covers the integration. The strong thing about S4HANA is integration. Your sourcing and procurement module, integration with finance, integration with inventory management, integration with extended warehouse management or warehouse management, integration with transportation management, TM, integration with the production planning, integration with the planning tools like MRP. All this integration with the different sort of businesses would be very strong in S4HANA. Ariba is standalone functionality, although some here and there finance functions are also available, but it's a strong functionality. It's only a tool for sourcing and procurement only. All the procurement features which have S4HANA has, Ariba has, but Ariba does not have these modules and integration with these modules. That is not there in Ariba. Okay. So S4HANA for a strong core ERP product with the good procurement functionality, Ariba is the add-on to enhance your sourcing functionalities. Okay, so these are the product features, and you should be now knowing ki bhaiya, what are the things which are going to happen and what are the things which is going to remove in future. So we talked about S4HANA, complete ERP product. It has a multiple modules. These are the few modules. There can be 10 more modules. I can write it here. Finance, within finance, we have a FSCM module, financial supply chain management, funds management, treasury management. S/4HANA is too deep and too integrated. Planning, PP, MRP, predictive MRP, DDMRP, all the things would be there. Long-term planning, production planning and detailed scheduling, production execution functionality, sales and operations planning functionality, production planning functionality, inventory management, extended warehouse management, how those things has been stored in the warehouse, quality management, plant maintenance management, sourcing and procurement, sales, HR, everything is there. All these modules are there, and the best thing is they all are integrated with each other when we talk about in S/4HANA. This is available on cloud and it's also available on premise. So S/4HANA has all of these function and features, which different consultant helps business to implement these modules in the business, right? One of the key things, sourcing and procurement, which we have talked about, okay, has a sourcing and also has a procurement. Sourcing is just a flavor which is available. These are the few functionalities which has been added. Again, compared to ECC, S/4HANA has more sourcing, but compared to Ariba, it has very less. So these few functions we have talked about, and all these function and features of S/4HANA we trained in excellence training. SAP S/4HANA sourcing and procurement excellence. Ariba is a separate product, just to make sure that you know, when you learn Ariba, you know bhaiya kuch S/4HANA bhi hai, kuch sourcing and procurement bhi hai. So you know the difference between both of them. We are doing today's session. Again, I am mentioning again, this is a strong product for the direct buying, and Ariba is a strong product for the indirect buying. That I am telling from my experience, wherever I have seen the Ariba has been implemented, Coupa has been implemented, businesses are using those tools to buy more, to make sure that the indirect buying process got streamlined. Ariba is a core product for the sourcing and procurement. It's a specialized product for sourcing and procurement. S/4HANA is an end-to-end ERP product. It is acquired by SAP. It has both capabilities, sourcing and procurement. Both is there in Ariba. It is named as an upstream and downstream. Very strong in sourcing, has its own supplier network. So any vendor can register themselves on Ariba. And then when they are registered themselves on Ariba, they would also be able to see that what are the requirements coming from the different places, and you would be able to respond to the requirements. So this give a platform to the suppliers where they can log in, they can check, they can respond to the bids, they can get the requirements, they can get the purchase orders, they can give their confirmations from that tools, and they can also give their invoices digitally to the companies. So strong supplier network also has been given by Ariba. This is a strong product for indirect buying. It's a strong product for the indirect buying. Again, I have talked about Ariba upstream. These are the upstream functionality, supplier, sourcing, contract, negotiation. These are the upstream functionality, which we call sourcing. Purchase requisition, purchase order, good receipt, invoice, payment. These are the downstream functionalities. So we can do like this also. We can use both Ariba and SAP S/4HANA. That kind of features are also available, where this part of the business, they are using it Ariba, and Ariba is getting integrated with SAP S/4HANA, and this part is used with S/4HANA. Although for invoice, there can be some integration. The invoice can directly come from Ariba networks. Okay, so Ariba plus S/4HANA can also provide a strong functionality here for the downstream, Ariba strong functionality for the upstream. Within Ariba itself is a specific module. I recommend that people who are on SAP MM, who are already upgraded to SAP S/4HANA, they can also learn Ariba, because that is the end-to-end digital solution. You would be on the end-to-end digital footprint from SAP, which provides a solution for sourcing and procurement. So Ariba would be a separate consultant, but there's a lot of requirement of the people who know both, who know Ariba also and S/4HANA sourcing and procurement also. Ariba modules would be spend analysis, strategic sourcing, contract management, operational procurement, supply information and collaboration, supplier relationship management. Those are the sub-modules of Ariba. I will not talk them in detail. I have an expert on that area to talk them detail. Sree is the expert who will be talking in detail on that part. But from my explanation, what I am expecting, कि भैया, you would be clear. S/4HANA क्या है? What is S/4HANA sourcing and procurement? What is Ariba? Where Ariba is strong and where S/4HANA is strong. That should be very clear from today's session to you. Okay. Okay, how system will find out all vendors for RFQ? That RFQ functionality need to be used in the Ariba. In Ariba, we call them as a bidding process. With the bidding process, it will bid. It will open the bid to the multiple vendors registered in the Ariba network. Vendors are already there in Ariba network, and then the bid will go to them. Not RFQ. We don't call it as RFQ process, Anil. We call it as a bidding process. When I talk about the bid will go to the multiple suppliers. Okay, so I would be now inviting Sree, if you can raise hand, and then we can jump into a little bit more detail of Ariba, and Sree can speak and show you the Ariba screens also. Sree, you can raise your hand so that I come to know that you are in the session. Yeah, Sree is there. Okay. Sree, I would be quickly answering the few questions which we have here, and then would be handing it over to you.
Sure, Parminder.
Amol has a question. What are the additional parameters functionality where the consultant convince client if they have S/4HANA only? Which one is to propose client Ariba or Ariba SCC? Ariba SCC is a further submodule of Ariba. Ariba has a multiple submodule, Amol. Ariba SCC is a further module. Hero is asking, what is the difference between the product sourcing and what is the difference between the strategic sourcing? So the product sourcing, strategic sourcing is the business languages which can be used differently by the different businesses. Okay, which can be used differently from the different businesses. So strategic sourcing, which I have seen, I will tell you from my experience, where basically we make a supplier a strategic supplier, right? Where basically we are not only working with that supplier to get the material done, but we are working onto the set of supplier so that, let's say, if I talk about, and that's more applicable for the direct procurement, the strategic supplying principles are more applicable for the direct material. Let's say you are producing a car. For a car, you buy the wheels from outside, right? Now you are buying a wheel from one vendor. Okay, and that vendor, let's say something bad happened to that vendor, and then you have a full car but it does not have wheels, you cannot sell it, your supply chain got stopped, then it is not a strategic buying. Okay, it is not a strategic sourcing. When you have a single vendor, you have your wheels are the critical components, you have a specific dimensions of the wheels which need to be used, you have a single supplier, then it's not a strategic sourcing. Strategic sourcing would be you should be having a more than one supplier, and that also into the different regions you will try. If one is in Karnataka, other can be in Maharashtra. If there is something happens due to some political or some issues, Tamil Nadu or Karnataka ke beech mein rights ho gaye, the factory got stopped, you have another source from where the material can come up. Maybe you have also developed an international source from where the things can come up. That is called the strategic sourcing. You are not depending on the one supplier, you are depending on the multiple supplier, and you're also giving it business to all the three suppliers. So yeah, you have a strategic supplying. Anything goes back to one vendor, you have another two vendors to supply so that your supply chain can run. Okay. Yeah, we cover the submodules. Will you be taking care of all flavors of S/4HANA, public, private, on-premise? Avinash, we are not this. The course which we'll talk about is Ariba course. It's not S/4HANA. There's a separate course. We have SAP S/4HANA Mastery course, Sourcing and Procurement, SAP S/4HANA Sourcing and Procurement Excellence course, and then Ariba course. They all have a different content. So our S/4HANA Sourcing and Procurement Mastery and Excellence course covers what is covered in private and on-premise, not the public. Okay. Ariba is on the public cloud. It's covered by the public cloud solution. Mustafa, does your course of Ariba will contains all submodules? I would say most of the submodules, not all. It would be covering all the submodules, which is good enough to start you yourself as a career of Ariba consultant. Praful is asking, Bhaiya, any plan for the sourcing and procurement batch? We are keep on running the batches into the cyclic. Right now, you can jump into a batch is going on. The next batch will start in the April month. Every year, at least 3 to 4 sourcing and procurement batches we do. And when you enroll with us, you get the full access to 1 year. For Ariba also, if you buy Ariba, we give you full access for 1 year. In 1 year, whatever the repetitions we are doing, you can join all of those batches. Same with sourcing and procurement. I don't have S/4HANA sourcing and procurement. Can I learn Ariba? Yes, it does not depend on each other. You can start with Ariba and learn S/4HANA, or you can start with S/4HANA and then learn Ariba. Both way you can do it. With that quick information, I would be quickly hand it over to Sree so that we can go much deeper into Ariba, so that at least you know the further functionality, what are the different submodules are there, and some Ariba screens also we can see it. Okay, with that information, Sree, over to you.
Thank you, Parminder. Thanks for a brief discussion. I think this is really helpful and useful for many of the new learners. And it's a good resource where getting this knowledge for a fresher, it's very difficult. So what Parminder has provided is a real business knowledge, which is required a lot of experience. So that is you can achieve within 1 hour session. So that's a heavy useful session, I believe. And he has explained most of the things about Ariba, also covered it, and the difference between the major solutions S/4HANA and Ariba. Okay, so let me take over from now. Okay, so yes, it's most of the things are already covered.
Don't forget to subscribe our channel and click on bell icon to update yourself with latest SAP videos.
So I will not take much into deeper. So let's quickly, as Parminder mentioned, and it is Ariba is replacing SAP's SRM solution. So it's already, if some user or some customer wants to take SRM solution, obviously they have to take Ariba only. That's the SAP's recommendation. If you want to use SRM, you have to use Ariba. Now, Ariba is a cloud solution. It is not provided any more of a on-premise solution. So basically the difference between on-premise and cloud solution would be, in on-premise solution, you need to install at a physical location that requires maintenance of your server, application that requires additional cost, and maintenance is the responsibility of the client. Coming to Ariba, since it's a cloud solution, you don't need to take care of this maintenance part. It will take care by the Ariba. What you need is only the subscription to the modules which you are looking for. So Ariba has two highly classified as an upstream and downstream. So upstream is basically in order to purchase source of supply. So strategic sourcing, which is basically in your company, when you have strategies defined to purchase different type of material. For example, if a company is purchasing for a 500 rupees worth of I'm just giving a random example. So you don't need to dig into so much details on spending that item evaluation, whether competitive or not, whether good quality or not. That may not be highly important. You choose and you take the decision. Probably each manager will have certain amount of approval authority within his limit, he can able to purchase it. Whereas if you want to spend on a machinery, then you need to go into a lot of efforts. What is your rate of return on investment? How long the asset will provide? how can we budgetize, whether we want to use this as a capital expenditure or revenue expenditure, what is the maintenance is required for that particular mission, who are all the vendors, and what is their level of expertise in the market, whether they can provide durability. A lot of things need to be analyzed. So then you have a strategy for purchasing different type of materials. So that strategic sourcing is possible in Ariba, which is not possible in other applications like SAP probably to some extent, even it is not possible in S/4HANA. So as it was explained in the session, only 2 tick marks given for S/4HANA if you're looking for it specifically related to the sourcing, but 6 points have been given for Ariba because you have additional functionality available in Ariba, which will help in achieving the strategic sourcing functionality. Okay, so as we are talking about I just typed it in, so just to save the time. By going with the cloud solution, it's an instant access, so you don't need to depend on providing login details and etc. etc. Globally accessible, so you don't need to be at the physical location, so you don't need to travel to the client's location to do the installation. That's no more required. Since you're not going to maintain the hardware, then you don't need to worry about the maintenance. It's a simple deployment, time saving. That means, in other words, if you want to develop an application on-premise, it required 6 months that can be achieved in cloud probably within a month, I can say. So thereby you're reducing almost 60%, 80% of your time using deployment. Then the upgrades. So security patches, which is very important for an application nowadays, because to prevent the security threats. So that is taken care by SAP. Your application and your data is so secure and it's highly impossible to break the chain. They have very secure firewalls and it is thoroughly tested. And availability of the application is also up to 99.5%, which is only a fraction of time which is server was down in Ariba, that too for specific locations, and that too in non-business hours only. So the uptime of Ariba is also successful. That's one of the advantage of having Ariba application. For example, if you're having an on-premise system, you might have seen in regularly, they're doing some maintenance, then the application is not available for a certain period of time, and they do it in a off business hours. But even that is not required in Ariba, which is available 24/7, and you will generally don't see any downtime for that. We're quickly going to the Ariba user interface. Before that, as I mentioned, there are 2 kind of activities at the procurement level, which is senior level and the junior level. Why we call senior level? The responsibilities are different. The targets and other things are different. In senior or middle management professionals, procurement professional basically, a buyer, procurement manager, senior buyer, senior procurement supervisor. These people they generally focus on other areas. So what kind of areas? How to improve a new vendor, how to achieve a new vendor, how to test a new product, and how can they develop other vendor and monitor the vendor's situation and analyzing the data, how effectively we're spending on this data. So that's mostly the responsibility of a senior management to check on the efficiency of the procurement supply chain, supplier optimization, so getting best out of the supplier products, partnership. So earlier it is called vendor supplier, but we generally don't call in the current world. We call our suppliers as partners. So we engage with them because our success depends purely on the source of supply which we are getting also. If our supplier fail, and we also fail. So that's the reason the partnership is more required. And some majority of the cases nowadays, what is happening is you are going to acquire your partner, whoever is providing your supply, if that is a highest expenditure or spend you're managing on one particular supplier, you try to acquire that business also. Thereby you can achieve a lot of savings and control, and you will be having visibility of the products and suppliers situation. And most importantly, the cost saving. So the senior management will look for always keep on how to reduce the cost so that you can provide the product on a cheaper prices, not cheaper prices, competitive prices with your market prices. So to achieve this, we have different modules. Sourcing, that's the highest success rate of Ariba. So where you can able to achieve these things, supplier optimization, partnership or collaboration with the supplier, and how to get the saving. So how can you identify saving? So you have to identify based on the last purchase. So if you have purchased earlier for $5,000 and this time if you are purchasing for 4,900, you are saving $100. So multiply with number of items and number of categories, that will give you how much amount the company or the client is invested on procuring an Ariba solution and how much the saving he is getting it. Sorry. So that will be the target of a senior management. Now, when we classified the senior management, so what is the general lower level people? Or I don't say lower level. So the basic user are just who joined as agents, buying agents, what they do. So they look at the purchase requisitions, which is coming through the system. They evaluate the purchase requisition and create purchase orders and follow with the vendor on the supply of the material and making a payment to the supplier. If there are any issues are happening, this is a kind of a routine area where you are going to, on the existing data, you are going to maintain it and you are going to look for the solutions. Okay, now coming to the strategic sourcing. Our objective is finding a right vendor for the material, price and discount discussion. Once we have achieved this, we're going to have a commitment with that supplier that we have agreed for so and so price for so and so time. Sorry, that is contract management. So you need to have a contract, and we also need to maintain the supplier. In our system, we want the supplier to be available if he is providing good quality of services. If there is a failure on the supplier part, we want to block that vendor. So that is possible under supply management, which is again SRM's replacement module, SLP, SAPM, all we can call as a managing suppliers. So these three parts are highly the objective of the upstream solution. Coming to the procurement side, we have PR, PO, receipt, payment, reconciliation, catalogs. These are all downstream solution, or we call as buying and invoicing solution. I'm just looking at the comments. Yeah, so we are going to cover all the 5 modules: sourcing, contract management, supplier management, buying and invoicing. All modules are covered in depth, like end user kind, how an end user performs the transaction in a system. And as a consultant, what is our role and what are the configuration we do in the system? That is all covered as part of the syllabus. Sorry, guys. Okay. So strategic sourcing, I have just explained. Integration with other modules. Ariba is highly supportive in integrating with any of the ERP solution. So Ariba is so much flexible now. You can able to integrate with your Oracle system or Microsoft or even, standard SAP, ECC or S4HANA. You can able to integrate. You can subscribe to each different module also, individual module also. For example, you want to use only sourcing module, you can use that. Or you can also use suite integration, which is nothing but subscribing to all the modules of Ariba functionality. Or you can go ahead only with the sourcing, contract, SLP, and rest of procurement activities you might perform in your S4HANA. That is still possible. That is also allowed. Technical knowledge. The people who are joining or who are keen into taking Ariba as their career, if they're not technically sound, like people coming from people coming from procurement or any other modules which they want to move their career into Ariba, they can take Ariba as their platform, because you don't need such technical knowledge. So what you need is application maintenance. How you can maintain your application. So that is what the required knowledge. You don't need even like you don't need to remember the T codes also. This is the user interface is so strong and it is easy. You don't need to search for something exclusively by going through the navigation. So let's go to the Ariba screens because we have less minutes of a time. I just want to quickly show you on the feel of Ariba. So this is the Ariba home screen or a land screen. So when you subscribe, when you log in into the system, This is the place, this is the dashboard which you are going to see. This is called Ariba landing pages. Okay, now let's explore on the Ariba dashboard. On the top right hand corner, where you see that is your initial or username and password, and you have self-services menu where you can able to do changing of your password, changing your secret question, delegation of authority. This is a good feature. Suppose you are going on a leave, you don't need to ask someone to act as, you don't need to share your username and password. You can delegate your authority so that during your absence, whatever approval you have to do, the other person whom you are delegating, so that person can approve on your behalf. That you can do self-delegation, that is possible. Changing of your profile, probably if you want to change your supervisor name or your address, email, anything you want to change, you can change under this category. We're going to explain each and everything in our training, but just for the demo purpose, I'm just explaining on the what are the features which is available as a self-service. You can change your language, default location language, which is basically English to some other languages. For example, German, they can use German language, or Chinese language, Japanese language. Around 13 languages are supported by Ariba. The user can have the interface in their own language. You can change your email notification, like the emails, how it is coming to you. You can control whether you want to receive as a consolidated mail or an individual email, that you can change it. Email preferences, something similarly. Non-standard addresses. Basically, via your user profile, Ariba, when you're creating a purchase requisition, it knows that where that item need to be delivered. Basically, your plant or storage location on your user profile. If you want to have an ad hoc address, maybe some different address when you're purchasing, so you can use this non-standard addresses. So whenever you're creating a purchase requisition, you can mention where that item need to be delivered. So that's about non-standard addresses. You can use Ariba application on a mobile also. In order to activate that mobile, you need to come here and activate this option. So which will give you a code. That code you need to be enter in Ariba on both iOS and Android. It is available. So via Android application, you can also browse through Ariba catalogs, and you can start purchase requisition, and you can also approve any of your requisition. For example, you are a manager, you are getting some purchase requisition need to be approved, you can do that. Then other standard like analytical purpose, you can download what are all the credentials which you are having. So that's on the self-hand menu. And the next one which you see is a site, like changing from upstream to downstream. When you're having a integration with multiple ERP systems, you can connect one parent system to multiple child systems. For example, your client is having, in Europe, he's having an Oracle ERP solution, but in North America or America, he is having SAP solution. You can integrate both the ERP application into one single system. So via site management, which is called Federation FPC, Federation Process Control, where you can connect, but upstream remains only one application. Whereas in child, you are going to have two different child. One will talk to your SAP system, one will talk to your Oracle system. So if you want to switch from that parent side to child side, you can use this option to switch between parent. If you're in a child, you can go to the parent by clicking here, or if you're in parent by clicking here, you can go to the child side. So this will help you, help button will help you to reference in a SAP help portal, where you can also search for, if you're stuck up in some of the knowledge or some area which is confusing for you, you can look for help topics, which is available on portal, SAP portal, that you can browse through help menu. You can print the home screen, and this part I will come later. You can search for the document which is available in Ariba. Probably the purchase requisition or the contract workspace which you have created or sourcing document you have created. We can search from this search dialog. Then you will getting on the right hand side three options. One is create. Create is the place an end user is generally going to do. For example, creating a purchase requisition, sourcing project, or contract workspace. So that option is called create. And second, manage is basically, this is kind of an administrative activity. As a consultant, we get this permission to manage administration and core administration. So when you look at administration, basically this is the place where you're going to configure certain elements which are related to upstream. When you look for core admin, so these are all some elements which are related to buying and invoicing solution. And recent, which is simply a quick way to access whatever you have performed recently on your Ariba application by going to the recent. The tabs which you are seeing here are specific to individual modules. For example, when I'm clicking home, this consists of all the related modules where I have created a document that will appear under my document, where I have supposed to perform certain action that will come as my to-do. The common actions, which is similar to create and manage, you can also access from this left side menu. Recently viewed are where this recent also mostly same. So you're going to browse either from recent or you can quickly open from here also. But when you go for a contract or a procurement, then the data will be displayed specific to that particular module. When I'm in contract, these documents are related to the contract workspace. These to-do actions are related to the contracts, and any additional things I'm looking for, I can able to do from contract. So these permissions, or I can call this as a modules, this will be available based on your role availability. For example, you're a procurement user, you just perform only purchase requisition in your role, then you only get a menu called procurement only. You don't see the contract catalog and other areas. Suppose I am a customer admin. Customer admin is nothing but a functional consultant. Like we get an a role called Ariba administrator. So we will get access to all the modules. So by clicking on more, you can browse through the other hidden modules. So how can also here I can able to change little bit about my dashboard by clicking on the a kind of a tool symbol here, configure tabs. By clicking here, I can add a content, I can edit properties. I can also add a new tab. Like the tab is nothing but contract procurement. You can also add new tab and you can create your own dashboard. Okay. This will come, we'll just explain one. When I'm clicking on add content, I also have tiles. So what are all the tiles? Action tiles. When I click add, system automatically adds the titles. I can also add news. For example, you want to announce some news in your company. So then you can use this option. RSS, if your company having some RSS feeds are available, you can use that RSS feeds. For example, when I click news, when I double click it, it is placed on one of the area here. I can drag and drop and put it into any of the common place. I'm just clicking done. Now I can drag this news I want to be looked at the top. I can go here and I can place it under tiles. So news will be coming here. So under the tiles, again, if I want to add additional tiles, I can go here and manage all tiles. So here, these are the tiles. Sorry guys. Okay, these are the tiles currently available. I can change it. Maximum 5 tiles only can be available. Suppose if I want to look at my contract request, I can select. Then once I select 5, then it will disable. If I want to add any other thing, then I need to remove one. Then I can be able to choose from available tiles. When I click done, the 5th tile also will be added to the dashboard. Okay. I can also run a report and I can add report also into my dashboard. That is also possible. I will quickly show you one more screen, like how switching from child to the parent side by going to the site menu. Then you are going to see different content here. Now I'm going to the parent side. Even when you see the URL, it will change from buyer to sourcing. Earlier, the URL says buyer. Now it changes to sourcing. So sourcing means it's a kind of a tip. When you look at your URL, if it says sourcing, you are in a parent or upstream solution. When you see buyer, then you are in a downstream solution for buying and invoicing solution. I'll go to the home screen. Now you see different things are available here. Supplier management, supplier risk, contract, and these are all related to upstream module. When I click that sourcing, then I also get These are all the events. So events is nothing but sourcing. Okay, in Ariba, how the sourcing event work? So I will just explain that quickly. So what is the sourcing module and how it will work? In Ariba, suppose you want to find out a best price for one particular product or commodity. Let's take a simple example of a computer. I want to find out the best rate for the computer. How it will be? First, I will create sourcing project. Then I will add my team members. Who are all my team members? Probably I will include my supervisor as an observer. Okay, that's my team member. So he has a visibility to my project which I'm creating. That's called team members. Add supplier. At this stage, I will add the supplier details. So what are all the supplier details? Whoever I want to invite to computers, I can add them. So here I also get one more option. That is the best thing about Ariba. A new supplier was known to you now during event creation or RFQ creation. You find out there is a new supplier who is interested to provide you a computers. Then you can add new supplier by quickly registering him on Ariba by adding add supplier plus button and then enter his email address and some basic information, the supplier's name, supplier address, what commodity he's supplying. This is more than enough and you add him. So what will happen? That supplier will be included in your list of supplier whom you are going to send the quotation. So new supplier is added to your event. Now the content. So at the content, I'm going to enter what I'm looking for: computer, how much quantity, 10 pieces. When do I need? I need by sorry guys. So I need by 28th February. Then I'm expecting previous price of $5,000. Then I'm going to publish this project, or I call them as an event also. Publish the event. As soon as I publish the event, whoever the supplier I have added in this list, they are going to get an email notification. They are going to get an email notification saying that your buyer has published an event, or you want to respond to the event by clicking on a link. So once they accept that link, they are going to get into the Ariba event screen. They have to provide the response. So they were going to give the price. For example, one will give 5,000, one will give 5,500, etc., etc. Then in the buyer screen, you can able to evaluate which suppliers has provided the response. And you can also mention during your event creation, how long you want to keep this event open. So I want to keep this event open for 3 days or 7 days, 30 days, depending upon your need, maybe 2 days. So until 3 days, the permission will be given to the suppliers to provide the response and change their responses also. Once 3 days is over, then you are under selection of a supplier. So there are 5 suppliers you have invited, 4 suppliers have responded. Now, you know, from 4 suppliers, the system Ariba will give you 1, 2, 3, 4 screen, and which will also highlight who is the best supplier based on the system's knowledge, like the lowest price. So then it will suggest, hey, this guy is a best supplier, comparing, he can able to achieve a saving, go ahead. Then you can award that business to that particular supplier, then your event get closed. That's a high level how you are going to conduct an event in Ariba. Let's go back to the Ariba screen. So when I'm saying about the event, the draft, while creating that event, that is in a draft status, preview. I created an event now, but that response I'm going to expect from tomorrow only. Then that status is called preview. Open. So as I mentioned, 3 days I'm keeping my event is open. Then this status is called open. So how many days so that event is in a open status. Once the time is over, then it will go to pending selection. That means I need to select the vendor. Once I have selected the vendor, it will go to the completed status. So these are all the 5 level statuses which you found for the event. For the last 12 months, so many drafts have been created, like RFI. RFI is nothing but request for information. So like RFQ, we have three types of event. One is RFI, second is RFP, third is auction. So in RFI, I'm going to collect information only. I'm not collecting pricing. Basically, I want to find out whether you can able to supply the material or not under RFI. In RFP, I'm going to ask additional information about price. Here only I'm going to compare who is my best supplier. Then out of the responses which I am receiving, I am unable to take a decision because everyone is giving very near to the margin. One is giving 4,950, 4,940. So very small differences only, which will not make big difference to me. Even I am not able to pick the right supplier. What I can do, I can go ahead for an auction. So auction time, each supplier will be shown their status. Hey, if you are giving this price, you are leading as a second. If you are giving this price, you are leading as a one. So that's called auction event. When you conduct an auction event, you are giving a competition among your suppliers so that they can respond better prices so that they get the business and as a buyer, you get the saving. So that's called auction event. Survey is just to conduct any random surveys when your company you want to finalize some periodical analysis or something like that, how the feedback or something that you can do it. Forward action is basically when you are selling some item, that's called forward action. So in my documents, I have 144 in RFI and the draft status, open status 4, 148 pending selection. I got the responses, but I have not choose the vendor. 52 events have been closed. So this kind of a summary, a dashboard which is available under sourcing module. Similarly, you have separate for contracts. So specific to that modules will be available under content of your dashboard. So we are going to explain more details in next session, like how do we create a sourcing project, how do we compare the prices, how can we get the best prices. Suppose your suppliers is not available, you do not know the supplier, there is an option called Ariba Discovery, where you can post into a public network and you get the responses from the suppliers. So that will save you for a new unknown suppliers. Sorry, for unknown product, you can identify new source of supply also. I think with this, I will take a pause today. So next session, we will continue more detail. I hope this session is useful. Let's open for any questions. And then I will hand over to Parminder for your next topic. So I'm going in the reverse way. Yes, they can create as a self account as a supplier. Yes, the supplier can create as a self account. There are two types of supplier accounts. One is free, one is chargeable. So free subscription is possible. You can respond to n number of questions, n number of RFPs you can do. You can receive purchase orders. There is no charge from Ariba. For the supplier side, I'm saying. So that will make the supplier happy because they can able to take subscription without any charge. If they want to use additional features and functionalities, then they need to pay a small amount that will give them additional functionality. They can integrate Ariba with their sales system. So any specific doubts or questions so far I have explained, feel free to open.
There is one question from Shweta. That is, I hear there are vendor portals on Ariba where they can add themselves.
Yeah.
So what is this add supplier? Please clarify.
Okay. So basically that's what I mentioned. When I'm creating a sourcing project, I'll quickly show you whether so once you enter certain basic details about your item, the next step would be here. It's again, we can restrict here. So here you will get an option, invite another, sorry, here you will get invite another participant. Here you will get an option called create new supplier. That means that supplier is not existing in your database. When you're searching for the suppliers, so whoever you have earlier interacted or whoever the suppliers who have loaded in your sourcing system are available, a new supplier. So how a new supplier will come would be, so generally during exhibitions, the suppliers will reach to the suppliers themselves come to your organization and they say, hey, we are interested in providing you the supply. They will come to the reception, they will ask for the procurement people. And when the procurement person goes to that person and they will show their catalog. These are all the catalogs items which you were providing. And we feel that your company is using some of these items. Next time when you're looking for these items, please give us a chance. So that is how a new supplier will be onboarded. So that supplier information, if you want to get the quotation, you can add directly during the event itself. You don't need to bring that supplier into your system until you are okay and you find these prices are very reasonable and he's a competitive or he's a new supplier who can bring into your organization. Then you can ask him to do the registration process. That's we talk about in supplier management. But for the sourcing related, you can get the prices from him without adding that supplier in your vendor master.
Don't forget to subscribe our channel and click on bell icon to update yourself with latest SAP videos.
Hope that clarifies your answer.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Yes.
that was a question from Shweta. Anyone else has any question? I can see the other few questions has been mentioned there. Guys, please don't mention the direct message. Please message everyone so that Sree can also check it and answer it.
Yeah, you will be provided access for practice also. You can connect with support and they will help you.
There's a question from Vidyasagar. Integration with SAP S/4HANA require more development or in standard configurations are there?
Yeah, that's basically integration consultant can help you on that part because what areas you are going to integrate. Are you going to integrate purchase order? Are you going to integrate sourcing? It depends upon the modules also. So again, after once you select the modules, to what extent? Because each ERP system is different. So what are all the fields you are using? So that need to be mapped. So integration specialist can able to do that. Integration through BTP. So someone, Avinash is asking, yes, you can integrate through BTP or CAG or using third-party tool also you can integrate. SAP recommends you go with CAG. Now it is renamed as a managed gateway for spend and network. So again, why BTP has come is earlier it is also supporting ITK, which is nothing but an integration toolkit that was stopped now. So BTP is a cloud solution. So they are recommending to use BTP to integrate your Ariba system with backend system. Yeah, this course can be taken by a fresher also. That's what I mentioned. There is not technical knowledge is required, but you should have some knowledge on the procurement side. Something similar to when you're doing a regular purchase in a market, how you analyze. For example, you're going for purchasing a phone, how you identify which is the best phone. Either its features or the selling price within your budget, the lifetime of the phone or the brand. It varies from person to person. So if you able to capture this kind of information, like during buying, it required buyer and seller. So that is what needed for a SAP if you're looking for career into procurement. So Ariba can be taken because it does not require that much technical knowledge. If I buy Ariba, can I set S/4HANA SNP? No, I think that is already explained by Parminder. Ariba will not fulfill 100% of your ERP requirement or end-to-end solution. It only supports indirect purchases only. It cannot support direct purchases. So then you need to maintain both if you're using indirect purchases and direct purchases, direct spend.
Bharat Reddy has one question. Does Ariba support in supply planning integration with S&OP processes? There is a business process which SAP has come up where basically Ariba gets connected, get integrated with IBP, integrated business planning, to cover the S&OP process to check the supplier constraints. So technically it is available there. Technically with the SCC that can be integrated. But how many companies are integrated? For that are no or very few, but technically that process is there where Ariba can get connected with your planning tools to give them the supplier constraints so that the S&OP planning can be fulfilled. Technically, yes. Whether there are a lot of examples, no. Whether I have seen any company doing that yet, no.
Yeah, I think I will be handing over to Parminder, who will be taking care from now.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thanks for
just
joining.
stay there for a couple of
Yeah,
minutes.
sure,
I
sure.
think there
I'll
would
be staying. I'll be on
yeah.
required. I will be available.
I think there is one question from Suraj. In Ariba SAP integration, when you create a new supplier in Ariba or onboard them on a Ariba network, is the same vendor replicate in SAP system? I think you can better elaborate this one.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. It again requires like if you are ending your transaction in Ariba, then you don't need to replicate the supplier in your SAP system. That is one thing. Second thing, you can replicate the supplier into the backend. There is one field which need to be mapped in your ECC so that it identify the supplier in ECC is same as Ariba. So that will be explaining in the supplier collaboration time what field that needs to be maintained in your ERP so that both the system can talk to the same vendor, the vendor available in ERP and vendor available in Ariba, both are same.
Okay.
Bharat Reddy, what is the better way to incorporate supply side constraint in S&OP process through supplier collaboration? I'm not understanding an S&OP process means.
Yeah, I can answer that. That's what I was speaking about, Bharat, that the better way to incorporate supply side constraint in S&OP is to use IBP. That technical integration architecture which I have seen is only through the IBP, where IBP can connect with the SSC module, and from there basically the supplier constraints can be passed from your Ariba tool to the IBP tool, where the supplier constraint can be appropriately added. Okay. Ariba consultant, whether he would be able to do it? No. IBP consultant, whether he would be able to do it? Yes. IBP consultant knows. Then in S&OP constraints, how the supplier constraint need to be added by exploding the BOM, getting it to the raw material procurement levels, or the same material if you want to do buy, how you need to go that level. And in S&OP, when you reach to your consensus of demand, how your procurement constraints can be added there. Okay, so that can be done through the Ariba side. It can be done. Do we have any example? Whether personally I have seen it happening? Answer is no. Okay. Any other question? Quickly, any questions related to Ariba? If you have, you can quickly ask last 2 minutes. Then I will let Sree free, and then we'll focus on to the career counseling. If anyone has a career related question. Okay, I don't see any Ariba related questions, so we'll be starting quickly. Aman, give the details again that when we are starting the batch for Ariba. And also the link to the people who can enroll. I think 22nd February we are starting the batch, Thursday, 7 a.m. India Standard Time, and the link has been given so that you can enroll yourself. Last question from Avinash. Which editor you were using? Can you please write in the message box? I have written. Let me write again, or maybe I have written to not to everyone. Let me write it again. I was using Xmind for the mind map, and to draw I use Epic Pen. Does Ariba support finance also? There are some finance part is there, but the strong integration with finance, if you require in an ERP product, that either you can use your core ERP products like Oracle, or basically most of the company use ERP product as a ECC or SAP S/4HANA to give a strong integration with finance and to give all the functionality which is available in finance. Ariba, you cannot consider a good tool for the financial and the finance statements perspective. Avinash is interested in IBP, S4HANA, sourcing and procurement, and digital manufacturing. Okay, so Avinash, you can speak now. You can feel free to unmute and speak. If you want to have a one-to-one session, you can drop an email to support@sastrageek.com and they can help to set up a one-to-one session. Praful, please go ahead.
Yeah, hello, sir. This is Praful. Actually, I'm having experience of 15 years and managing a team. I want to pursue my career in the functional side of SAP, and for source to pay, that module I would like to, plus other modules if it would be. So, what you would suggest or guide me how it should be with a functional side?
Okay, sure. First, now we have started with that's the first question came from the career part. So we are starting with the career counseling part. Sree, if you want to drop, you can feel free to drop and I will continue with the career counselings.
Yeah, thank you, Parminder.
Sure, thank you, Sree. Okay, bye. Okay, so the question was from Praful as the 15 years of experience, right? The 15 years of experience, in which domain do you have, Praful?
Earlier it was on the technical side, now it is the service delivery management, but I'm interested to learn the functional side, so hence it is. I have not having any experience on supply chain. Earlier I was in insurance.
Do you have any experience of handling any kind of these tools like Ariba, ECC, S4HANA?
No, I haven't having any experience, any hands-on on that.
Okay, do you have
However, I'm managing the customers for that, but I want to go into the functional side. Yeah.
But what is your daily jobs? What kind of things you do on day-to-day job?
It is the management side, basically the service delivery management, but I want to give another direction to the career.
understand. So for your profile, which is not directly linked with the logistics or supply chain, you need to first choose from one of the two streams. Okay, either you can check a streams, which is the inbound, sourcing and procurement, or outbound, which is sales. Out of these two streams, when you select one of the streams, if you select sales, you need to first learn SAP SD. If you say that I know the more business processes from the sourcing and procurement, I can understand that terminology better, then you can start with the Ariba and then SAP S4HANA sourcing and procurement, or first with SAP S4HANA sourcing and procurement and then Ariba. But eventually you need to do both if you select the sourcing and procurement. The reason is your 15 years of experience. Right?
Okay.
To give the weightage of the 15 years of experience, so that you would be starting with the good you'll be starting with a good salary package. The two modules would be required. So you can start with Ariba and then you can go for sourcing and procurement S4HANA.
Okay, great. For S4HANA course detail and other details, how I shall check? Is it through the portal or sending an email? How it would be?
Yeah, you can drop an email to support@sastrageek.com and
Okay.
then they will respond back to you.
Yeah.
Or they can immediately also send you the links over the chat.
Perfect. Thanks, boss. Yeah, bye.
Sure. Thank you, Praful. Go ahead, Bharat.
Yes, Parminder. Thank you so much. You're doing a great job, I would say, like conducting these workshops time to time and then giving a lot of insights. And brief background about me, like I'm a supply chain professional. I started with the SCMAPO way back in 2006. And since then, I was like helping these implementations of SCMAPO, as well as I worked on the business side, having the functional and operational knowledge intermittently, like for about 5 to 6 years, helping business users better utilize these systems of demand planning as well as PPDS basically. And then now I'm already enrolled in your IBP course because I have been part of S&OP implementation, but the rest of the modules I really didn't get a deep dive. So that's the reason. So now my question to you is, what kind of career opportunities do exist? And I forgot to mention, I'm currently based out of North American market. I'm in Canada. I am not seeing much opportunities, at least in this part of the side, compared to US. So what would be the better way? Because people are more preferring O9 kind of solutions or maybe OMP, Kinaxis. So just wanted to have an overview of the market this side and kind of pay packages we can look at and which segment to focus on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bharat, for appreciating for the sessions. Bharat, I want to quickly check that how many total years of experience you said?
It started in 2006 and started with APO. So now it is 18 years total. But if you really ask me on functional side, it's more than like 14 years. Rest of time I was like on the business side.
Okay, okay, I got it. So, Bharat, have you already updated your profile CV with IBP and you are not getting the opportunity? Is that is the case, or you just check the online market at what kind of the requirements are coming?
See, my profile has a mix of, because I predominantly worked in APO, so I have a major portion of my CV talking about APO, and then some part of it definitely on the S&OP side, and then process mapping as is versus to be state mapping on IBP side. But even though I'm getting few interviews, but the questions are kind of, specific SN, supply scenarios within, say, IBP landscape rather than APO landscape or the kind of testing situation. So where I don't have kind of deeper expertise. And S&OP also, I was not totally hands-on. I was kind of, on a supervisory position where my team was helping. So
Okay, and Bharat,
conceptually, I was, yeah.
got it. And Bharat, you have enrolled for the current IBP batch, which we have just started, right?
Yes, this is like today, even today I had a session with Sam.
Right. So, Bharat, you are onto the right track. Make sure that you go through this training and do also hands-on. So, your all the S&OP process would be covered in this training sessions. Most of the places where basically these tools, especially the IBP tools, has been used, the most adoption is for S&OP process. So, I would say that 80% clients who are adopting IBP is basically because of S&OP process. So this training will help you to make sure that you understand all the nitty-gritties of S&OP process and how it need to be done on IBP. And with that exposure, when you will go into the market, although the market for IBP is picking it up, it has been in decent level, it has been picked it up for the demand management and demand planning side, which covers the S&OP. Okay, the other sides still IBP tool is still struggling and need much more improvements. But within this S&OP knowledge, which you will be getting from IBP, if you will update your CV with that knowledge, definitely you would be having interview calls, and definitely with that you would be able to get a very good job opportunities even in the North America also. Second thing, these tools, right, when it comes to the Kinaxis or when it comes to the IBP or when comes to the demand planning in APO, right? They all are very much integrated to each other. Once you know good hands on to the one tool and you know the business processes, if and buts on that, any tools you would be able to learn quickly. Even your IBP knowledge and the S&OP knowledge, which you will be getting it, can also help you to get a job in Kinaxis, and they will get you quickly trained on Kinaxis, and you will be able to get consult that.
Okay, but how does the market compare US versus Canada? You have any?
US is definitely higher side. The number of requirements are higher side. But the thing is that you need only a one job, right? You don't need 100 of jobs to work on, right? So that one job you can in the North America also.
Okay.
This is a niche market. The number of resources are not very high, even though in the North America. So if you have a right skill set, if you tap onto the right skill set, if you can answer all the questions, I don't think any issue with this skill set in the North America.
Thank you so much, Parminder. And also just wanted to understand, like, there is good market even for the integrations. So CIDS, or you talk about any kind of other integrations, because nowadays it's all about, well connected and integrated. So that's where my question was coming from, even regarding Ariba, because if you see the big box retailers, they deal mostly with the suppliers, but they don't have their own manufacturing. Similarly, with some of the other big businesses. So how can do we have any better solutions to handle those scenarios? Because those are some use cases that we are finding more often where supplier collaboration is much more important than getting into the manufacturing side of supply chain.
Okay. So SCC, supply chain collaboration, which SAP is bringing it up, which is still picking up the pace, that might be answer to the question which you are asking. With SCC, supply chain collaboration, the integration between Ariba and S4HANA and the integration between Ariba and IBP will get smoother. And with that, the integration and the business scenarios would be able to get answered.
Thank you so much, Parminder, for that overview.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Bharat, for joining.
End user, but I'm supporting for American timings like evening 6:30 to early morning 3:30, and I'm just worried about the session will be starting at 7 a.m. IST. So I thought of quitting a job and taking the session. So, and also I have only 1 year of experience as an end user, sir. I just worried about the job after I complete the course, since I'm quitting the job and planning to enroll for this course.
Vijay, the first thing, don't quit the job. I never recommend anyone to start a career in SAP to quit the job, and especially when you're working into the supply chain operations. You need to understand one thing when you want to do the consulting job, the current job which you're doing as an end user job, that helps a lot. The business knowledge you get it, the experience you get it as an end user would be helping a lot to do your consulting job. So never quit your job. The session is just for 1 hour, right? This session, if you talk about, it's 7 to 8, just 1 hour. 3:30, your shift ends. By the time it will be ending, it would be 4:30. You can revise your previous session content, do some practice for 2 hours, and then your 7 to 8 o'clock, your session would be there. Have a heavy breakfast and go for sleep. No need to quit it. Quitting a job would be not a good option, especially when you're already getting a hands-on experience as an end user. So that would be helping you to get your consulting job. So don't quit the job. Try to manage it. It would be a more painful path or little difficult part to get the things done with your job, but I want you to go through that difficult part.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sure. Okay. Bharat also echoing the same thing which I've said. Thank you, Bharat. I have a few questions there. Lakshmi is asking, thanks for the session. I enrolled in this 7th course. Excuse me. Need some good interview questions and answers which will not be covered in the course. Thanks. Thank you, Lakshmi, for the feedback. We are working onto the interview questions. I hope you're asking about the Ariba only, right? The Ariba interview questions.
Hi, Parminder. No, I'm asking about SAP S4 HANA.
Which module?
SAP S4 HANA. Finance.
Oh, finance one.
Yeah.
Okay, the finance one, let me check that we have a separate product for the interview questions where that stands, and if it require any improvements, we'll be happy to do that.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the feedback.
Have a good day. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Shivam has a question for a fresher. Is it better to start with Ariba and then also learn S4HANA, or start with S4HANA and then learn Ariba? Whatever the way you want for a fresher, you want to go ahead, you can do that way. Okay, I would prefer if I am doing to do first S4HANA, then Ariba. But in the both of the approaches, a fresher need to work a lot onto the business processes, to learn the business processes, to go deeper into the business processes, to know whichever the business processes we are doing, why we are doing, why business do that way, what are the pros and cons can be, right? You are a fresher, you have not worked. If you have worked somewhere, definitely that perspective come. But if you have not worked there, does not mean that it stops you that to get that perspective. So as a fresher, you need to also make sure that whatever the business process you are learning it into the module, go deeper, do online search, watch some YouTube video, so that your perspective about the business process, that why business is doing like that, right? That get clear. If that perspective is clear, that would be helping you to do the good consulting.
Don't forget to subscribe our channel and click on bell icon to update yourself with latest SAP videos.
Okay, with that, we have answers all of the questions which have been asked onto the chat. I can see still a hand raised from Praveen. Praveen, please go ahead.
Sir, I am working as a SAP consultant since last 3 years in an organization. So now I just want to upskill because I am working so far in SAP ECC version. Now I want to upskill into SAP S4HANA, sourcing and procurement. But I'm little bit confused. Should I go with the first SAP S4HANA, or I also just want to add one more skills, want to learn other module as well. Like for point of view, which one is best? I should go with the Ariba or like EWM. So I'm little bit confused in this.
How many years of experience, Praveen?
In 3.4 years, 3.5 years. I have
3.5 years in SAP consultant, right?
Yes.
Okay. So one thing is sure that you need to go for excellence course.
Okay.
That is upgrading, upskilling yourself to SAP S4HANA.
Okay.
That will have to do it. There's no question. When we need to do, how we need to do, that's the other thing we need to do it.
Okay.
Second thing is always adding another module to your profile is always helpful. If you want to select consultant, you're right. Either they select EWM or they select Ariba.
Okay.
My advice to get a module selected is first that if you're working in any environment, if in your current project EWM or Ariba is there, try to see which one is there. Or in the current organization, if you learn that module, which module is having a more chances to get you a project? That module you should select first.
Okay.
If you say that कि sir दोनों में से कुछ नहीं है, from both no chances are there, neither in my project EWM Ariba is there, nor I have any visibility that I will be getting a project on EWM or Ariba,
Yes.
then I suggest you to go with your interest.
Okay.
If you have a more interest into the inventory side, if you
Okay.
have seen the warehouses, how the operations into the warehouses happens, you can go for EWM. If
Okay.
your more interest is there into the procurement side, sourcing side, in most of the things we do 70% sourcing and procurement and 30% inventory management.
Okay.
If your more interest is there into the sourcing, procurement, that is the processes generate more interest for you, then go for Ariba.
Okay. Got it.
Got it? Okay, Praveen. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
for asking.
Thank you.
Avinash, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So do you have any courses for S4HANA professional services or digital manufacturing?
As for HANA professional services, we don't have digital manufacturing also, so far we don't have. What we have is SAP S4HANA PP, Production Planning Mastery, and Production Planning Excellence. They both are into the on-premise or what you say, the private cloud solutions. Digital manufacturing is on cloud, public cloud solution.
Correct.
Yeah, which is 70% same, I would say 70% same as SAP S4HANA PP, but there can be 30% differences, which we don't cover as of now.
Okay. All right.
Okay, anyone else Thiru has a question? Can we just be a CIG consultant as an integration, or it is mandatory to have a CIG with upstream and downstream? You can get a role in a project where you are focusing on CIG only. But if you want to sell yourself in an open market, it need to be clubbed with the upstream or downstream to sell yourself as a complete package. But when actually there can be a roles where you can only work as a CIG part. Thiru, I know that you're working deeper into the CIG, and I think we already had a discussion for you. Once you're at a level, we want you to get conducted a CIG session based on your experience. Where can I get the details to enroll for SAP S/4HANA? Drop an email to support@sastrageek.com and they will provide it. During the session, they have given the links. Maybe you have missed it. So maybe Aman or Bhupender, just drop our email ID and WhatsApp message again so that people can connect there. Mustafa, go ahead, please.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Hi, Mustafa.
Yeah, hi. Just I have one question. I have around 8 years of experience in this sourcing and procurement domain. So I work in the area, I work as an end user, Ariba and Coupa, Ivalva. So now I'm planning to move as a consultant. So this is the right way to go with Ariba?
So right now you're working as an end user, right?
Yeah, end user.
How many years?
8 years.
8 years on Ariba. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead with the Ariba. It's the right time.
Only 2 years I work in Ariba, but remaining in like SAP MM and Coupa.
Okay, 6 years as SAP MM end user and 2 years in Ariba, right?
Yeah, yes.
I would suggest go for the 2 courses you need to select to get added in your profile. The 2 modules,
Okay.
SAP Ariba plus SAP S/4HANA sourcing and procurement. Even if you
Okay.
do the mastery one, that would be good enough to get you a start as a consultant.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, Mustafa. Bharat, if you need further deep dives in IBP, we would love to do that. What I have, we had a detailed discussion with Sam, and we also did some corporate trainings. We found it as that, that the IBP as a course curriculum and as a subject is not that easy subject. So people, especially the people even who are coming with 5 to 10 years experience, and if they are not into the planning, they are struggling a lot to understand the content. So right now we are focusing on to the core and the basic content, at least that people can understand so they can start themselves. Sam has all the experience. I would say he's one of the in the industry with most of the experience in IBP, and
I'm fully with that.
Sorry?
I'm fully with that. I agree that, but what I'm feeling is like whatever is getting covered, of course, I need to be patient. It's getting like slightly on the slower side, but what I feel is like meanwhile, if there are any things that I can explore, like to get further deep dive, so that just I'm not losing track or interest when I'm in
Yeah,
this flow. That's yeah.
So I was coming to that point. So there's 2 things we can do it, right? First thing is that when you have access to the training, by the time we are starting it up, we have another students, we are pacing them up so that they can understand SNOP hota kya hai before getting it configured. So you already have access to the previous batches. You already have access to the recordings, dynamic recorded content of IPP, right? So you can jump ahead and you can explore more things from there. And I want to also let us know at the end of the session which are the more areas where basically you would be able to have a more detailed discussions. And we have a couple of more guys like you, we can sit with you, and then we can work on to the SAP IBP 2.0 content, which would be once people have covered the basic content and they can jump into SAP IBP 2.0, where we'll be talking about the more complex things and more deeper things.
Thank you so much, Parminder. That's yeah, of course, it has a lot of access, but yeah, I'll go through that. But again, I don't want to end up in a situation where when those sessions are happening, I'm like disengaged or stuff like that.
Okay, sure. Let's get connected. Maybe You just go through it, and if you have any feedback, where the things we can jump into the more details, feel free to drop to support@sastrageek.com.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure, thank you. Okay, with that, we are ending our today's session here, and we'll get connected with you for the next week. I think next couple of weeks is a little tight weeks for me from personal side and also from the project side. So we might not be having a step-up circle, although I will try best to fit any 1 or 2 topics here and there with the open sessions. But we might not be able to have a step-up circle for next couple of weeks. But on 22nd, we are starting with the Ariba. You can jump into the Ariba session and have an eye on the emails where we'll be letting you know that when the next step-up circle session with which topic we are doing. So thank you everyone for the today's session, and we'll connect you later. We'll inform over the email. Thank you. Goodbye. Have a great weekend ahead.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you once again.
Bye.